One of the most important things a child can hear is a calm voice saying, "It's okay. I am here." Now, perhaps that comes during a thunderstorm, perhaps during a difficult moment like a first day or a frightening experience. The circumstances may not change immediately, but the presence of someone trustworthy changes how the moment is experienced. That is something like what Jesus is doing in today's gospel. The disciples are preparing to go out into a world that will not always welcome them. Jesus is honest about that reality. He does not promise an easy road. He does not pretend that there will be no opposition, no misunderstanding, and no hardship. But 3 times in this passage, Jesus says some version of the same thing. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Now, that command can sound unrealistic at first. After all, fear is a normal part of life. We worry about our health. We worry about people we love. We worry about finances, about the future, about changes we cannot control. Sometimes we worry and fear about failure. Sometimes we fear loss. Sometimes we fear simply not knowing what comes next. Jesus knows all of that. The point is not that fear disappears. The point is that fear does not have to govern our lives. There is a difference. Fear may visit us, but it does not have to become our master. Jesus points to the sparrows, the little birds. They seem small and insignificant in the eyes of the world, but not one of them falls apart from God's awareness. Then Jesus reminds the disciples that they are of far greater value than many sparrows. In other words, they are not forgotten. They are not abandoned. They are not alone. And the good news is, neither are we. Paul takes us even further in his letter to the Romans. He reminds the church that through baptism they have been united with Christ in his death and resurrection. Their identity is no longer rooted in fear, sin, or the powers of the world. They belong to Christ. And that belonging changes everything. When fear becomes the defining force in our lives, it begins to form our decisions. Fear tells us to hold tightly to what we have. Fear tells us to distrust others. Fear tells us to build walls, avoid risk, and protect ourselves at all cost. But Paul reminds us that we have already died and risen with Christ. The life we have been given is not ultimately our own achievement or possession. It is a gift. And gifts are meant to be lived. The early Christians understood this. They lived in uncertain times. They faced opposition and hardship and challenges that would have been easy reasons to retreat into fear. But the church grew. Not because those early Christians were fearless people, but because they trusted that Christ was with them. And that same invitation remains before us today. Living without fear does not mean pretending everything is fine. It does not mean ignoring real dangers or concerns. It does mean refusing to allow fear to make decisions for us. It means choosing hope when cynicism would be easier. It means choosing compassion when fear urges us to withdraw. It means choosing generosity when fear tells us there will never be enough. It means choosing faithfulness when fear whispers that our efforts do not matter. Perhaps that is where Jesus' words become most challenging for us. Fear is one of the strongest forces shaping our world today. Fear often drives our conversations, our politics, our relationships, and sometimes even our churches. We are frequently encouraged to see one another's threats rather than neighbors. But Jesus calls his disciples to another way. Again and again he says, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. The reason is not that the world is easy. The reason is not that nothing can go wrong. The reason is that God's love is greater than our fears. God's faithfulness is stronger than our uncertainty. The God who knows every sparrow also knows each one of us. And as followers of Jesus, we are called to be people whose lives bear witness to that truth. People who trust more than they fear. People who hope more than they despair. People who love more than they withdraw. The world does not need more fear. It does not need more fear. It already has plenty of that. The world needs people who know that they belong to God. The world needs people who refuse to let fear have the final word. The world needs disciples who trust that Christ is risen, that death has been destroyed, and that God's future is greater than any uncertainty we face today. So let us live boldly. Let us live boldly. And also let us love generously. Let us hope courageously. Let us follow Jesus faithfully, trusting that wherever the road may lead, we are held in the steadfast love of the God who does not leave us. Because Jesus is walking with us on our journey, even now, even today. Thanks be to God. Amen.